Hey there poetry pals, welcome back to another video. This week I'm rewriting an 11-year-old poem that I wrote for my dissertation. Yeah, that's right, 2024 marked the 10-year anniversary of my dissertation, where I wrote a collection of sonnets that tracked and mirrored the sonnet form and its development throughout English history. Why is this video being released in 2025? That's a great question. The answer is, I have long COVID and chronic fatigue, and whilst I did do most of this project in 2024 and filmed it, I am only just getting around to editing it now, and so this is 2025 Josie, talking about what 2024 Josie did in reaction to what 2014 Josie did. Got it? Great, it makes sense, move on. In this video, I'm rewriting the second sonnet in my collection, which was inspired by Norfolk Sprung Thee by Sir Henry Howard. But before we go any further, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video, and comment down below. The engagement really helps small creators like me get found. And while we're on the subject, why don't you follow me on social media? I am at Josie Alford Poet on all the things. Also, if you want to learn more about writing poetry, I've got a buttload of videos on here, but I also run monthly online writing workshops. One is all about writing, one is all about editing the poems that you have already written, and all the details about that are in the description down below. Or you can sign up to my Patreon to get priority access to those workshops. And I've written a poetry book. It's called Faulty Manufacturing, and it's all about grieving for someone when your relationship was super complicated. And it's really good, and you should buy it, and it'll help support my work. Great. So this is the second in a series of videos where I used my 10 years more writing and life experience to rewrite the poems that I wrote for my undergraduate dissertation back in 2014. I am also, while I'm working on this series in the writing and the editing and the making these, I'm also working on getting this collection published. So this series will gradually be about that too. And hopefully by the end of this video series, I'll have a nice little book for you to buy with all the finished drafts in. Isn't that nice? So with that in mind, here are the general rules and aims that I'm setting out for myself in this project. Number one, whilst a lot of these redrafts are actually total rewrites, the subject matter must remain the same. My original set of sonnets, some of them were out and out pastiches and parodies line by line. We're not going to do that this time, but we do have to use the original source inspiration. So my new poems must hold that original inspiration, but it must be more of an allusion to, an intertextuality, rather than an out and out pastiche. Number two, we're going to ditch the archaic language. Dissertation Josie wrote Shakespearean sonnets in Shakespearean language. And it was to show that I could write like Shakespeare and his contemporaries. But this collection, I want it to be a Josie Alford sonnet collection, so it has to be written how I actually write, which is kind of close to how I actually speak. I want these sonnets to be more accessible for readers, and also to be a Josie Alford sonnet collection, not a Josie Alford pretends to be poets from the past sonnet collection. Number three. No syntactical gymnastics just to fit the rhyme and the rhythm. And by that I mean we're not going to mix up where we would normally put a verb just to make it sound right. I think making it sound like how I normally speak is the goal, and whilst the rhyme and the rhythm are important, I would say the rhyme is more important, the rhythm is less so. I'd rather make it sound like natural speech, and it would have its own sort of flow anyway, right? Which brings us to number four, and number four is keep the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme is a key part of how sonnets developed in English literature, and so for this new collection, we've got to keep the same rhyme scheme. My writing must still reflect the form, and so it has to keep the original rhyme scheme of the inspiration poem. The original inspiration poem is called Norfolk Sprung Thee by Sir Henry Howard. Norfolk Sprung Thee. Lambeth holds thee dead. Clare, of the Count of Claremont thou height. Within the womb of Ormond's race thou bred, and saw'st thy cousin crowned in thy sight. Shelton for love, Surrey for lord thou chase. I me, whilst life did last that league was tender. tracing whose steps thou sawest Castle blaze, Landrecy burnt and battered Boulogne render. At Montreal gates, hopeless of all recure, thine earl, half dead, gave in thy hand his will, which cause did thee this pining death procure. Ere summer's 4 times 7, thou couldst fulfil our Clare. If love had booted care or cost, heaven had not won, nor earth so timely lost. The success of Norfolk Sprung Thee lies in the poets having picked a form to match the complexity of feeling. It's both a love poem and an epitaph more than an elegy. The opening trochaic line gives it the sombre decisiveness of a funeral march. The writer, unencumbered by poetic flourishes, take pains to present key facts of the addressee's genealogy, going on to list some of the battles the two men shared. Finally, in the 3rd quatrain, the story behind Clare's death is revealed, the source of the poem's emotional intensity. So here's my version of the poem, Sonnet 2, after Henry Howard. St. Matt sprung thee, fish ponds holds thee dead. Boris of Oldbury Court thou hight. Within the womb of lion's race thou bred, and saw'st generations in thy sight. Family for love, the poor students thou chase. Ay me, while life did last that league was tender. Tracing those steps thou sawest life take place, before learning that we must surrender. And so last summer, hopeless of all recure, thine home was told its days were numbered, which caused did thee this pining death procure. In 4 short noons all will go to slumber. Thou died in a battle already lost, and thine life just part of the terrible cost. Listen, I'm not sorry about it. I love this poem. There you go. I think it's cute. So then I went through the poem and made some notes about things to know from it. So I wrote that I liked the place names. It helps root the poem in a sense of place, which I think is really helpful. I also wrote that thou hight is Old English, but it's interesting because it means you're called, or like is your name. And it's interesting because in German, like du heißt is you are called. So it's interesting that that's a similar sound word. We need to get rid of the archaic language here. It doesn't work and it makes it so difficult to understand. And also the like clause for clause mimicking of the original poem is not working for me. I did enjoy that the brackets served as an emotional aside, but I did say that it was too vague and we needed to get more specific about what life was like on campus for it. Although I did write that I liked the vibe of the final poem. Then I made some notes about how I was going to approach this poem, and I went to Rhyme Zone to go and get some keywords. Let's go. So then it was on to the free write. I set a 15-minute timer, I was listening to lo-fi beats in my headphones, and I had my notes up on the screen behind the camera. I actually ended up writing in sort of the structure of what I wanted the quatrains and the final couplet to be. So in a way, I actually did 4 mini little free writes in this session. Free write done. Did pretty well. Sort of like wrote to the structure of first quatrain, second quatrain, third quatrain, and then that. But then I just had some more ideas. Weren't really full sentences, but some cool phrases that I liked. Fighter of foxes, fluffy ginger rough. We're gonna let it marinate. I'm gonna keep the notebook nearby in case I come up with more ideas. I'll have lunch, watch some Bridgerton, and we'll come back and see if we can't turn this into a poem, shall we?
A few moments later.
Lunch was great, thank you for asking. Now we've got to turn this mess into a sonnet. Timer's going. Chill lo-fi beats are on. I'll see you on the other side. This bit I actually found really difficult, turning the like free write into iambic pentameter with the rhyme scheme was actually quite challenging. You'll see me looking increasingly frustrated and tapping out the rhythm with my fingers and muttering to myself. This is mainly how I work into making sure that it's sort of towards iambic pentameter. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be close. Right, this has been a tough one. Let's get back to the desk and hopefully in the typing up we shall find the poem. Yeah, so this one, I normally come to the typing up page with a little bit more of a poem, and then I use the typing up as a way to do the fine details edit and really focus on the punctuation and, you know, just making sure it all flows and makes sense. But with this one, I came to the typing up section with a hope and a dream and a vibe, and it didn't necessarily work so well. So this is why you can see me typing and retyping lines, and my hands aren't in the screen here, but I am tippity-tapping out the rhythm, and I return to Rhyme Zone to try and help find some better rhyming words, but it is, yeah, this one was a struggle, I'm not gonna lie to you. Also, I just don't know if university works at this point, but let me know what you guys think. That is the end of the writing for today. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to send it out for some feedback from people. Don't forget that between this video coming out and this collection being published, there will be more edits. So if you have any feedback for this poem, please comment it down below. Thank you so much. Bye. It is worth noting that this is a first draft and I am looking for feedback. Ode to a Campus Cat, after Henry Howard. The generations knew you as Boris. You ruled our fish ponds campus at St. Matt's. We do not know where you lived before this. Beloved, fluffy, ginger, rough, king of cats. Since Polly became university, you've been here, vicariously learning big stretches, ear scratches and history, soundtracking seminars with your purrs. Then one summer we were finally told it was happening. They wanted us out, because our home, your kingdom, had been sold from beneath you, but you were not about to leave, and just when it began to snow, you died, without ever having to go. So, what worked well? What needs work? What do you think could be improved? Are there any specifics? Please let me know in the comments down below. And if you join me on Patreon, Patreons will have access to a Google Doc where you can leave more detailed and more specific feedback. So join me on there. I have one final thing I want your feedback on, which is to do with the collection as a whole. Originally, my dissertation was entitled Sundry Moods, a research-based creative writing project on the blah, 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 blah. But Sundry Moods comes from a quote from a Wordsworth sonnet about how sonnets are always there for you depending on what mood you're in. You can always use a sonnet to get yourself into writing. I used to really like that, but I'm just not sure the title Sundry Moods pops. I don't think it says what it needs to do. Another working title I had was Little Songs, because that's what sonnet means, is a small song. But yeah, I'm open to feedback on that. Please let me know your suggestions, and if your suggestion is the one that I go with, I'll send you a free copy of the book when we eventually get this published. So that's it for this video. Please subscribe and turn on notifications where you don't miss the next one, where I will be writing or rewriting my sonnet inspired by Edmund Spenser, which is all about missing your romantic partner. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. The engagement really helps small creators like me get found. If you're interested in learning more about writing and editing your poems, I run monthly poetry workshops. Tickets are just a £5 or more if you're nasty, and the links are in the description down below. Buy me a coffee or join me on Patreon for exclusive access to content, as well as entry included into my monthly writing workshops. And also buy my first book. My book Faulty Manufacturing came out 2 years ago and it is available in one of the links in the description down below. I also made a bunch of videos about how I made that book, so if you're interested in writing a poetry collection, go check that out. I think that's all the things I need to plug, so thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Bye.